Once upon a time, in a vast and radiant kingdom surrounded by emerald hills and rivers that ran like polished glass, there lived a king named Zaire. His name echoed from valley to sea, from distant lands to whispering forests. King Zaire ruled the village of Andara, a place so blessed with beauty and wealth that poets called it the Garden of the Gods. His palace was carved from white stone that sparkled beneath the sun. Its towers kissed the sky, and within its golden gates were treasures beyond counting. Pearls from the east, rubies from mountains long vanished, scrolls written by sages, and halls filled with music that never stopped. He had power, influence, admiration, and yet one thing eluded him: love. Not affection dressed in jewels or love presented with practiced smiles and courtly bows. Zaire longed for love that was unprompted and real, love that didn't see a crown but a soul. In his youth, he had entertained many proposals. Dukes offered daughters, queens offered alliances, and emissaries offered beauty wrapped in diplomacy. But Zaire watched closely. He watched how their eyes drifted toward his throne more than to his face, how their flattery was sharp and practiced, and how their love felt like a play rehearsed for gain. By the time he turned 35, Zaire had become known as the king with a guarded heart. His people adored him, for he ruled wisely and gave generously, but they often whispered, "He wears the crown of gold, but his heart bears no companion." And so, one moonless night, under the hush of stars, Zaire made a decision that startled his entire court. He would leave Andara, not with banners or guard escorts, but alone and in disguise. He would seek love not as King Zaire of Andara, but as a simple man with nothing but a walking staff, a satchel of food, and a ring hidden in his pocket, a symbol of his identity should he need it. He dressed plainly, took no servants, and slipped out before dawn. His first steps beyond the capital were hesitant, unsure. For the first time, no trumpet sounded when he moved. No one bowed or looked up in awe. He felt invisible and strangely free. He traveled far and wide. In one village, he worked as a stable hand, brushing horses and mending reins. In another, he harvested grapes with vineyard workers, earning coin and wine. At night, he listened to stories by firesides, laughed without being watched, and sometimes stared at the stars wondering if he would recognize love when he saw it. Months passed. He met many women, kind, clever, beautiful, but something was always missing. Either they sought security, or were intrigued by mystery, or didn't look past his silence. Some mocked his quiet nature, others gently dismissed him, but still he journeyed. Then, on a misty morning in the town of Ellora, he saw her. She wasn't dressed in silk or gold. She wore a faded blue shawl and carried a basket of herbs. She walked with purpose, barefoot across the dewy grass, her gaze fixed on the forest ahead. Curious, Zaire followed at a distance, and watched as she knelt by a stream, speaking softly to a child who cried beside a twisted ankle. Her voice was firm yet kind. She tore her shawl, wrapped the boy's foot, and carried him back toward the village. Her name was Amara. Zaire stayed in Ellora, claiming he was a wandering scribe. He offered to help at the apothecary where Amara worked, cleaning bottles and sweeping floors. She accepted with a nod, never questioning his past. She was unlike anyone he had met. She listened more than she spoke, and when she spoke, her words had weight. She found beauty in broken things, a chipped vase, a crooked tree, a lost bird's song. And when she laughed, it wasn't delicate or rehearsed. It burst out like sunlight between storm clouds. Over weeks they grew close. He walked her home. She made him bitter tea for his aching shoulders. They sat by rivers discussing dreams, not status. She never asked where he was from. She never needed to. One evening, as they watched the fireflies blink like scattered stars across a meadow, Zaire turned to her. "Do you believe in love without titles? Without names?" She looked at him, eyes calm. "I believe in love that doesn't ask for explanations. I believe in love that waits." He wanted to tell her the truth then, but fear gripped him. What if everything changed? What if her warmth turned cold with the knowledge of who he truly was? Still, the truth could not wait forever. Weeks later, a royal procession arrived in Ellora, announcing that the king, missing for nearly a year, had been found. Panic swept through the village. Rumors swirled. But Amara said nothing. She simply found Zaire, looked him in the eye and said, "You have something to tell me." And so, in the soft glow of lantern light, he did. He told her his name, his kingdom, his search, his loneliness, his fear, and how the only time he ever felt seen was when he looked through her eyes. Amara was silent. Then she reached into her basket and took out the broken shawl, the one she had torn to wrap the injured child's ankle. "This is all I have," she said. "But if you are the same man who sat beside me on rainy nights and laughed by the river, then I do not care for crowns. I care for you." And Zaire knew. He had found what no gold or power could give him. They returned to Andara, not in a golden chariot but in a simple cart, drawn by a horse with one eye and a stubborn gait. The kingdom rejoiced at the return of their king. But Zaire no longer walked with the lonely grace of royalty. He held Amara's hand like an anchor in a storm. Their wedding was not opulent. It was held in the garden of the palace, under a canopy of orange blossoms and birdsong. Peasants and nobles sat side by side. There were no thrones that day, only benches, laughter, and a love that filled the air like spring. In time, Andara grew richer, not in treasure but in compassion. Zaire and Amara ruled with gentleness, wisdom, and understanding born of shared simplicity. And when their children asked one day how a king found a healer among the forests, Zaire would smile and say, "Because I finally stopped being a king long enough to learn how to be a man." And Amara would add, "And I loved the man, not the crown." And so ends the story of the king who found true love, not by ruling from above, but by walking below, heart open, seeking not worship, but wonder.